Welcome back to episode 5. So we've now jumped back across to Australia. We've gone to Crow Cams. We've selected a large amount of camshafts from these guys to test out. And we're going to break it down into a couple different units, only because there's just so many of them. So we just don't want to do a massive video on all of it at once. It might get a little bit too sort of headspace and just mess you up a bit. So we're gonna keep this one simple. So we've got a couple cams here that we want to test. So two standout cams that I want to do is two small camshafts. One of these camshafts is more intended to somebody who's had a lifter failure or a damaged camshaft. They're at the point where they're like, you know what, you're going to pull the cam out, you might as well put a cam in it. But they don't really want to take things a bit overboard, you know what I mean? They don't want to overcook it. So, which is cool, you know, everybody wants, you know, to have a race car on the street. So, one of these camshaft has a small little lobe to it. It sounds, you know, okay. It's got a little bit of a small chop to it. So, you know the car's modified, but not quite sure how modified. The next camshaft is basically the same camshaft, but it's got chop. It sounds good. That's for somebody who's like, hey, I want it to sound like it's got a cam, but I don't really want to make too much power. I'm quite happy with how it drives with the standard camshaft. Then we move on to 3 other camshafts. So one of them is a popular one, and a lot of people have been really hit me on this one. So it's the Crow 1730. You know, really good all-round camshaft. Works really good in a blower. Works exceptionally well aspirated, and it works really well across all platforms. So whether it be an LS1, 6 litre, and so on. And then the other two cams after that is the Crow Cams 1286. Now, they've made a new version which is called a 1036, and that's a revised version of the 1286. And the differences is that they've dropped the LSA by 1 degree and they've increased the lift. Now, they told me that this is to help it hold the power on more in the top end. So I figured this is the best way to find out. We're on the hub dyno. You can't beat repeatability when it comes to putting a car in a hub. It's basically an engine dyno, and being a manual transmission, we've got no driveline losses in the sense of slip from a transmission. So we can pick up that 1.5 kilowatt here and half, you know, all around the job. We can see it. So we know when it's different, and even if it is marginal, we can still see it. And because, like always, we're doing everything basically in the most controlled condition we can get it in our dyno room, then we know the numbers are accurate. And like always, our baseline figure is always the same. Yes, it is high, as I've said in the previous videos, but this is a freak. I don't know why it makes what it makes, but you know what? I don't really care, because at the end of the day, we are only interested in what the before is and the after is, and you just pretty much look at the differences from there. So, but anyway, let's look at the sheet, let's dissect it all, let's make sense out of it, let's help you guys make a decision on what you want to do, because I'm sure everybody's out there going, I've been told to use this cam, but then I've been told to use this cam, but I don't really want to get that cam, or I want a cam, but I don't want the sound, and so on. So, here we are. There's the dyno sheet. And as you can see, our baseline figure here is 295 kilowatts, 536 Newton meters of torque. Moving on to the replacement camshaft. So this camshaft is the Crow Cams 1780-14. So that's a 203, 219, 551 lift, 556 on the exhaust, 114 load separation. That makes 331 kilowatts, 567 Newton meters of torque. Now, the next camshaft up from that one is the slightly bigger camshaft. So that's a Crow Cams 1026. That's a 1212, 218, 550 lift on both, 114 plus 4 degrees, 334 kilowatts, 571 Newton meters of torque. Now, these two camshafts make the same power practically, and as you can see on the dyno graph, it's the orange and the green line. You can see as they come up, once they get to the end, they are the same. Look, that's the differences right there, if you can see it. It's nothing. It's nothing at all. The biggest differences between these two camshafts, one sounds like it's got a little bit of work. It's got a very small amount of lope and chop, where the 1026, it sounds like it's got a cam. You know, that 114 plus 4 and the little bit of extra added duration and so on, it makes it sound like it's got a good mild camshaft in there. However, doesn't make the power of the bigger camshafts, but not everybody's interested in making big numbers. So it's a good cam for the people who, are taking the opportunity to put a cam in because you've had a lifter issue or a camshaft issue. You're only doing it because you're opening the engine up. However, you're not really interested in making a lot of power. It's the perfect candidate. Single spring, keeps the cost down and so on. Where the 1780 is basically for the same sort of audience, but they just don't want that added attention out of the back of the exhaust. And that's cool. Not everybody wants it. So both very good camshafts, and the 1780 has been a very popular camshaft within our workshop and also with our online sales. We sell a heap of those cams. A lot of people actually use them and they like them because not everybody wants that attention. And look, if you look at it over the stock form, over the red line, you can see it's a massive improvement over the factory sort of figure, over the stock camshaft figure. So it's a massive improvement over the stock. And it works well, and really good for for your torque and drivability and so on. So it's a good camshaft. Moving on to their bigger camshafts now. We're moving up a level here. So still stock converters. We can get away with stock converters with all three of these camshafts with no issues at all. Obviously, they will respond better with the converter, but they do work on a stock converter. Crow Cams 1730. That's a 222, 230, 613 lift. 114. That brings the power up massively over these ones. 356 kilowatts, 577 newton meters of torque. And as you can see, the smaller cams, they still make, very similar torque. So, don't discredit how good those little ones really are. That camshaft there is a really good camshaft in a aspode or a blower combination. It works really well. And as you can see on the power line, you don't really trade off any power in the bottom. It's very close to pretty much the factory curve. It drops off a little bit, but not much. But then starts to take off at around that 5,000 revs and sort of holds it in the top just that little bit and rolls over. So, but you can also see where the 1286 and the 1036, it holds the power better in the top end. So I'm going to say that even though the 1730 is a highly recommended camshaft, the 1286 or the 1036, you got free power in the top end at no trade-off, and you're not losing any extra power on the bottom. You can still use it on a stock converter, and they work really well on a blower. So, although I was starting to lean towards using the 1730 with future builds, I'm back to the 1036 or the 1286 because they actually are a better camshaft in the top end. But not to say the 1730 is not a crap cam. Like, it's still a nice cam and it sounds great. Hopefully the video quality is better in the with the microphone settings I've changed. So, but now the exciting test. So the 1286, which is their old school, it's been around for a long time. This one, so that's a 221, 238, 580 on the lift, 115 on the lobe separation, and that goes to 361 kilowatts, 578 newton meters of torque. And then you got the 1036, which is a 221, 238. Same as the other camshaft, but this is where it gets different. So it's got more lift, so 612, 615. They've dropped the lobe sep down to 114, but you can see the power, it's very similar, 362 kilowatts, 578 newton meters of torque. But as I said previously, you can see in the bottom, the camshaft makes the same power as the 1286. It's identical until you get to about 6400, and you can see right at this particular point, it hangs on that little bit longer. Now, it's wanting to go to 7,000. So, if you have a blower car and you put this camshaft in it, you've got added airflow from the blower. It's going to help it RPM even more. And because of that, you'll probably end up putting an extra degree of timing or 1.5 or somewhere around that mark in the top end, which will probably give you another 10 to 15 kilowatts in the high end of the RPM range. So I truly believe that the 1036 is a better candidate, even though we're talking a hair's different in the top end. I guess where the 1286 is good is if you're trying to do things on a budget, the 1286 will allow you to run like a PAC 1219 spring, or you can even go to the X spring or a PSI, it doesn't really matter. And you can still use those springs on the 1036, but you're in that 600,000 lift area. So you're starting to approach a much more bigger valve spring area, and like it just comes down to your budget at the end of the day, which way you're going to go. But me personally, yeah, go the 1036 because it's holding the power a little bit more on the top end. And as far as engine vacuum goes, the 1036 has actually got 47 kPa at idle at 700 RPM, where the 1086 has got 52 kPa at 700 RPM. So the 1036 is a slightly tweaked, and this is why it is a version 2 of that camshaft. It's slight improvements over the old generation version. So we've got we've got more engine vacuum, which is better for the brakes, better on the converter, better braking power off the brake booster, easier to sort of tune on the idle airflow tables and spark tables. It hangs the power on a bit longer. So in the grand scheme of things, just those little couple % changes in the camshaft have certainly made it a better improvement over its predecessors. So definitely a worthwhile going to the version 2 of this camshaft and so on. So look, they're all very good camshafts. They all have very different application uses and so on, and you, the customer, as always, are the person who dictates what you're going to use. So, but at the end of the day, if you've got a blower car and you're sort of tossing up between the 1730, because a lot of people do recommend it, consider the 1036. It will be a really, really nice camshaft with the blower. Like anything like a Harrop or like a 2300 Harrop or a Maggie, it will actually be quite a good candidate. And even with the bigger 2650 blowers, it will work exceptionally well. So, but I hope you've enjoyed this video of the Crows. So this is kind of like their small camshaft into their more milder camshafts, I guess we'd call it. Yeah, it's sort of interesting seeing the differences between the 1286 and the 1036. Next episode, we're going to move into the bigger camshafts and start actually seeing, where we go from here. So, but anyway, if you've enjoyed this video, don't be scared to get into the discussions, have a bit of a chat, send us some messages. If you're not sure what camshaft to buy, so on, we keep all this stuff in stock. We've got it on our online store, and we obviously do these videos to promote our business, promote the product, and obviously, make sales. That's what we're here to do as well. So, it costs money to make these videos. So, with your support back to us, it does go a long way and allows us to continue on with these videos as always. So, and we do thank everybody who's been watching these videos, subscribing and buying product from us. We appreciate that. It certainly makes a big difference to our business, keeps us employing workers. So, but anyway, don't forget to subscribe, click the bell. Hit us up in the comments, tell us what you think. Let me know what the microphone settings are like. Hopefully the video sounds better, I'm hoping, because I'm struggling to get it right. And we'll see you on the next episode with the bigger camshafts. Thanks again, guys, and see you next time. Bye.